All right, thank you. At this time, we have completed the public comment. Prior to formally closing the public hearing, are there any further council clarifying questions? Are you raising your hand?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Okay. So I guess I'll make.
Oh, pardon.
Yeah.
Pardon. This is for clarifying questions, and then I'm going to be closing the public hearing. And then you,
Make my comments later, right?
right, if you,
So specifically for questions.
yes.
I think there was a question of these, are these going to be an independent or assisted living? So these units are going to be, 19 of the units will be independent IDD. And so they will, many of them said, services will be provided to help them to live independently. And they actually do that. I visited a Sunnyvale site that was operated by Housing Choices. So it was really good services that they provide. And there was a question about whether the city explored other locations such as Westport and Valco. I think those are not city-owned land, and we do have below market rate senior housing at Westport. And with Valco, even though initially they were going to provide 50% of below market rate, I think it was down to 30%, and the newest version likely will be only 10% of below market rate, and then the city cannot ask them to support any IDD units. And I think the most important question I have is regarding the criteria for applicants, which I, in fact, asked in the supplemental, but I want to clarify. I think a lot of public comments from the last meeting and this meeting emphasize we want people who grew up in Cupertino to get these units. But I learned from the supplemental that we cannot set an additional requirement for these units to prioritize long-time residents of Cupertino. I was told by the staff, so I'm answering my own question because it was already answered by staff, that the current city, they have to follow the current city BMR prioritization requirement, where we do have points for residents, but it's the same point for anyone who lived in Cupertino maybe 6 months, 1 year, or 20 years. It's the same point. So I wish that's something we can change, and so that we can use a prioritization system that favor long-time residents for Cupertino. And then I think there were questions about CEQA exemption. That some of the residents think the reasons for CEQA exemption is not sufficient. So could the staff maybe clarify that?
Sure. So we do have PlaceWorks on call if needed, but I can start with the response to that. So there's two parts to this environmental review. The architectural site approval is not subject to CEQA because of it's a housing element site. It's providing a certain number of units under 50, as well as the affordability levels are above 20%. However, for the
excuse me, it's not subject to CEQA, or
Correct.
it's exempt from CEQA.
It's not subject to CEQA.
Subject.
Yeah.
So not subject to CEQA at
Right,
all.
the ASA. That's correct. Okay. Then, yeah.
Sorry. John McGuinn, Finance. We spent a lot of time with the housing. And sites that are at least 20 units per acre in density and provide at least 20% low income, not just moderate housing. This is 100% very low, and the density's 50 units per acre. They are exempt from CEQA, and essentially CEQA doesn't apply because it is not a discretionary approval.
It's not. It's exempt from CEQA, not subject to CEQA.
Both. The ASA would be both. The DDA would not. The categorical exemption, the Class 32, applies to the DDA. Mm-hmm. The architecture and site approval for
So
this
that
project.
means even if the land is polluted, even if it's not inhabitable, it's exempt from CEQA. We can build whatever condition it's in.
It is not a discretionary project, the permit. So that is correct. The permit itself is not a discretionary project.
That's the state law.
That is the state
would
law
allow
and-
us to exempt CEQA even on a heavily polluted land to build housing.
Yeah, fortunately, this is not heavily polluted land, but it's not
Fortunately,
a
but-
discretionary act. CEQA only applies to discretionary acts.
Mm-hmm.
And that permit is not discretionary because of the attributes of the project.
Okay. And then I think there was some question about the parking analysis that the city only studied traffic analysis only studied on one Saturday. Is that true?
If you know that.
The parking was studied just with I think during a 3-day period, but the traffic analysis is based upon the type of project that it is, and so what they estimated was that the daily trip increase would be 164 trips a day, and with even a further limited number at peak times.
So have we looked into the impact for senior center parking, which has a large event room?
It wouldn't be part of this review.
That wasn't the parking impact from senior center was not included.
No, it was not included in this
Okay.
trip.
So someone mentioned that more than 89 spots might be lost due to egress. I wasn't very sure on that. I think it's one of the residents. So
That's
just want
correct.
to confirm, would that be true?
Sure. So the staff report did identify that the traffic impact analysis did mention that could be some site visibility issues with depending if the driveways are one-way or two-way. So this project has been conditioned to be further reviewed by Public Works staff to see if there's ways to identify certain ingress, egress directions to limit the reduction of off-site parking as part of the project.
So we might lose more parking space, more than 89.
Correct, between 3 to 6.
Okay, thank you. Good to know. And Peggy asked if there could be deed restriction that the land be restricted to low or extreme low in units in case it's ever resold. Would there be any type of this deed restriction on this land, which is actually a gift from the city?
There is an affordability covenant that would be put onto title. It's recorded just like the grant deed, and it's tied to the property that would impose these restrictions. And the grant deed itself also refers to it.
For 99 years, right?
For 99 years, correct.
Yeah, great. So when there was a mention of when we acquire the land, we would deduct the grant that the city provided. Could we also deduct the parkland fee waiver that we have given to the project?
Currently, the parkland fee waiver is not included in the deductions.
But we could include that?
That's something that would need to be discussed with the developer. The idea has been introduced, so perhaps the developer is at a place where they might be able to discuss their position in more detail.
So it was introduced, but the current deal does not include that.
Correct.
Okay. And now another question is, so the city actually is gifting a land that's evaluated at $7.2 million. Is there any restriction for the city to just gift a land for $1? Do we need to make any declaration for a gift of public fund?
There is no restriction because of the current structure of the project. So it qualifies for a certain statute that essentially allows for below market price of property in this context for affordable housing.
So if it's affordable housing, we can give. It's not affordable housing, we cannot give the land.
Correct. Different restrictions would apply if the project was not
okay.
for affordable housing.
Thank you.
Next, we have Councilmember Wong, then Councilmember Fruin.
I have two quick questions. One is the DDA, is that the tighter of the agreements, the one that's more enforceable? And is that where we should put most of our restrictions in? Or is there another legal instrument we should be using that's to our lawyers? And the second question, there's a gentleman here that did do a traffic study, and I wanted to get his opinion while he's still in the audience. So let's go ahead with the legal assessment. What can we put in the DDA?
So I guess it depends on what you mean by tighter. The DDA is currently supposed to essentially describe the terms required for the city to dispose of the property at the closing. It also describes in detail the project itself as it's envisioned right now. That being said, in terms of what will ensure that this project remains affordable and over the lifetime, over the 99 years, then we're really discussing more the grant deed and the regulatory agreement. But both of those documents will be finalized at closing and executed and recorded at closing.
I think I want a DDA that protects our residents and our taxpayers. That's really what I'm leaning towards. So the one that is more enforceable or more contractually obligated. If we have to put restrictions as how repayment terms are set, what do we do for bankruptcies and foreclosures? That should go in the DDA, correct?
That is all in the DDA, yes.
Okay, want to make sure. And there's a gentleman there that did the traffic study. I was wondering if I could bring him up to say, what did you find in there that was the flaws that the city did not find?
Paul Krupke Consulting. To clarify, I did what I call a peer review of the transportation study done for the city for this project.
Similar to an AASHTO methodology?
And so you're clarify your question. Your question is asking me about what I looked at in terms of parking.
Yes. In your opinion, what did you see?
Oh, okay. What I found was that I truly believe that the project is introducing an impact, what I consider a unsustainable deficiency by reducing the amount of parking and not having studied the parking during festival events. I did observations, I looked at photographic evidence, and I estimated, just a very straightforward estimate, what the actual demand during major festivals at Memorial Park is. And I found that, as Mr. Mosley indicated, that 96% of the remaining parking spaces on Mary Avenue would be used during the peak time, were used during the peak times I was looking at in this photographic evidence. And I think that that's the unsustainable thing. And the issue is that nobody has studied it. Nobody has studied Memorial Park events, as far as I know, and that's what has to happen. That's the deficiency. And to state clearly, the project has an impact, and it's a substantial impact. To say that there's enough parking is okay, but that evaluation that I did was really just an estimate of a point in time during festivals, and it didn't have anything to do with the actual number and frequency and size of festivals.
So in your best estimate, we need to do a parking study that's befit of what is at peak and what is during festivals in order for this to say, to meet the requirements of a Surplus Land Act, correct?
Well, to really put a pin in it, yes, that's what I believe is the issue. It needs to be studied, and it needs to be brought forward as a as a response to a significant impact.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Fruin?
If I could get Director Mosley up for at least a couple questions. There were some additional assertions just made about what the nature of the parking is or isn't going to be there, and I was hoping that maybe you could take us through Mr. Krupka's assertions and how you feel about them.
Yeah, and I can give you my input on that. Mr. Krupka's report did show some observations that were taken during various festivals throughout the last year. In the worst case, there was I think 140 spaces being used for a festival. After this project, there would be 146 spaces available. So, as was stated, about 96% of those spots would be used, but that's still within, the 100% limit. And that would be for only 6 to 7 days a year for very focused uses. For the other 359 days of the year, there were photos that I think were shown by Orrin Mahoney that show that the road's pretty much not being utilized to maximum capacity.
So just for the sake of underscoring it, in the report that Mr. Krupka presented, there is a line in a table that says festival with project, parking supply 146, vehicles parked 140.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, okay. And that's not all 146.
Correct.
Does that presume the additional loss of the extra 6 potential spaces?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so this is assuming an additional loss of parking spaces. That could be an even greater difference there.
Correct. I think the report showed a total of 95 parking spaces being lost.
Okay. Switching gears then to another suggestion that had previously been made, which was about the bike lanes on Mary Avenue. My understanding is that those bike lanes are designated by ordinance. Is that correct?
That is correct. They're designated by ordinance as bike lanes. They're also shown in the general plan as well as in the bike plan.
Okay, so presumably we would need to amend the general plan or change the ordinances, and rather I should say both, in order to be able to remove bike lanes as part of this project.
I would recommend that, yes.
Okay, yeah. So it's not something that's before us today.
No.
Yeah, thank you.
I do have a question. I know I realize the architectural site, the ASA does not need to go through CEQA, but just kind of a general CEQA question. Because of this discussion about festivals, the impact is not the project on the environment. It seems almost like that is the environment's impact onto the project. Kind of like noise around Lehigh, and if a project were to be built there, it's not the project itself that's causing the impact, it's the truck traffic that's causing the noise impact. So it's not the project's impact.
Yes, that's one way of looking at it. Yes, so typically CEQA looks at the project's impact on the surrounding area.
Okay, and so and these festivals are actually discretionary decisions by the city to allow them, and we tend to waive fees for them, and that is something that could be taken away or reduce the area that's allowed to be used. Is that correct?
I believe so, correct. Yeah.
Okay, and Danza provides parking. I know I've lived here 30 years. Sometimes you have to pay for the parking across the street, but they have a massive parking lot that is due to the online enrollment. It tends to be pretty empty nowadays.
Mayor, I just wanted to clarify on your question about the festivals. So the city's practices that we will communicate to the organizations and the festival organizers that they, they reach out to Dianza for that parking if needed. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Mohan, and then Councilmember Fruin. Vice Mayor, you do still have your hand raised. Is that for more clarifying questions? More clarifying questions?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll go Councilmember Mohan, Councilmember Fruin, then Vice Mayor.
So a quick follow-up to what you just said, City Manager. The last time this discussion was held about festival parking, weren't you going to put up some signs along by the entrance of Memorial Park saying that there are other alternatives, or maybe have some people directing them to sort of behind Memorial Park? Wasn't there some talk about coming up with other options besides Mary Avenue for festival parking, besides Dianza College?
I'll have to check in with the parks staff, but yeah, usually we are working closely with the organizers to make sure that that the organizers know that there are other options for parking. I have to check in about the signs.
Okay, all right. On another topic, Mayor, a question for the city attorney. There was some comments about maybe why are we rushing some of these actions today, and why don't we just come back with everything, with all the different aspects of this project? And my understanding about the DDA is there's some urgency to it because this is what triggers the request for tax credits that the consortium has to go through. Isn't that the reason why we have it today as opposed to on another day?
It is the reason that we've been working so diligently to move this forward. The tax credit application is, I think, late March, and the tax credits are key to moving the project forward. And having unless we have a DDA signed, the applicant won't have, enough investment in the property to achieve an award of tax credits. And so this item is essential in that process, which is why we have it here today.
Okay, so if we approve this today, that's the trigger for the application process for the tax credits?
It just allows then the applicant to continue to prepare their application for the tax credits, and then ultimately for the application to rest upon the DDA so that they could actually be awarded the tax credits.
And this is regardless of all the changes we will make or the restrictions that we talked about that we will add to the DDA in the final stage.
Correct. The DDA is contingent on those things happening. Our expectation is that the tax credit allocation entity will move forward with allocating the tax credits, even with those contingencies, although it would also be good if we were able to sort of tie up those contingencies as well over the next, let's say 4 weeks. And that's the plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Fruin?
If I could maybe have Mr. Connolly. There was some discussion back and forth about a hypothetical under CEQA and for CEQA exempt projects or projects to which CEQA does not attach because they're ministerial, as to whether or not you'd be able to have a project on such a site. And I just wanted to make sure that you were adequately distinguishing between issuing an entitlement versus what someone can ultimately build, because the ultimate building will be conditioned in all sorts of ways. Yes?
Oh, of course. They would all run with the permit. I don't know how many total conditions, but it would be subject to And certainly Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code, which covers a lot of the items that would typically be found in CEQA. Those are going to be standard conditions of the project. And I think to some of the other questions related to, lead, for instance, things like this. And I think the mayor touched on that many of the things people see as environmental issues, they in fact exist, but they're not caused by the project.
Yeah.
The project's not putting lead in the soil. The project is not creating a parking issue, which parking is not a CEQA issue at all anyway. But festivals in Memorial Park are already happening. That's an existing condition. That's not triggered by this project. So,
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank you. I just want to refresh people's memories about the development of the Apple Park campus, that there was a very large street vacation that happened for that project, which removed the through traffic in that location. So we do have a precedent. The city vacated the public street to allow Apple to incorporate that land into its secure, unified 50-acre site. It's actually larger. So it's they have 176 acres there. Okay, and Vice Mayor Chow?
Oh, thank you. So I think we have a new revised Memorial Park master plan and concept that the council has already approved, which would intensify the use of Memorial Park, such as adding 8 pickleball fields. So what's the demand, increase in demand on parking for the intensified Memorial Park plan? Because that will create more demand for parking, especially for pickleball. Even with the current 4 pickleball courts, I think we already have a large demand on parking. So do we have any data on that?
Vice Mayor, if I may, I don't believe we have that data available today, but there is.
Because if we are declaring the land part of the public street, especially the parking, as exempt public land, we need to be sure we actually don't need it with all, even with the city plan for Memorial Park.
Just briefly
Yeah.
about the Memorial Park plan. There is adequate parking for day-to-day use at Memorial Park. That is envisioned in the current plan. There is some additional parking, I think, that was being included down on Anton Way. But generally, day-to-day use for parking at Memorial Park, even with intensification with that specific plan, is adequate.
But the pickleball tend to not only have players, they have a lot of people waiting to play. So usually there is a lot more demand on parking.
And we currently have, I think, 8 pickleball courts at the existing, and the proposed would just be 8 pickleball courts in a different location, if I recall. But there should be adequate parking.
So how much would be the demand on parking from 8 pickleball courts?
I don't know the numbers. I just know that was looked at with the Memorial Park specific plan. There
Okay.
was concern about parking.
Then for when you evaluate the parking for festivals, which specific festival was included in that 3-day study?
I know Diwali was one of them.
Which is a very tiny one. I think
my understanding is
it's
that's one
only
of the larger
occupy
ones.
the field that's at Quinlan. The largest one is Cherry Blossom.
I believe the
think.
largest is Cherry Blossom, and the other 2 festivals are Diwali and the Fall Festival, if I recall, are like the large ones. And Diwali was one of the festivals that was reviewed. I don't know that the Cherry Blossom was
So
reviewed.
do we have any idea how many total parking space would be necessary for these like Cherry Blossom?
I don't know for Cherry Blossom, but again, based on the observations for Diwali, it was 140.
I know it's
Vice Mayor?
140
Pardon?
spaces used.
Pardon me, Vice Mayor. Through the city attorney, are these questions germane to this particular project?
I must say they do appear to be sort of beyond the scope of what we're discussing tonight.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, can you try to focus in on this particular project?
I'm trying to decide whether the public land should be exempt, should be vacated. The public land parcel should be vacated. Do we have existing public use? Do we have parking demand that actually need the land, which is on the agenda?
Try to focus in on this particular project and those changes that will happen to Memorial Park, whether it's exempt from
But
CEQA or not. It
they-
will have studies in the future should
In
some
the future,
development
when we lose the
happen
land,
there.
we don't have land for parking.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you. So please continue.
Okay, thank you. So, I mean, excuse me, Chet. So I know that you understand the current slot spots on Mary Avenue is used for that, but that's when we have free use of these on the parking. And but the Dianza has been building quite aggressively on their campus. So we don't know when they are going to replace the parking lot by some other building. We don't know how long that parking lot would even exist. So therefore, I would like to know what's the total parking demand for one of these festivals in the event, in the next 99 years, that that garage, some people have wanted that to be a transit center, and the Dianza have tried to develop many buildings. So if that parking lot is not there, what's the total demand on festival? So we know whether we really need this land that we are going to vacate at all as a city.
I'm
for
not sure I
public
can
use.
answer that question. We have not done a full total demands. I will state that other festivals I've been to in my local neighborhoods, you realize you bike to a festival or walk to a festival because there's never any parking. In this case, the festivals that have been studied to date, there's adequate parking even after the project. I can't tell you
But
for Cherry Blossom.
if we don't have Dianza, access to the Dianza parking lot, there is not sufficient parking, period, for the festivals.
I don't know those numbers.
Vice Mayor,
thank
through
you.
the mayor.
Yes.
So Vice Mayor, I think if the city chooses to do any sort of maximizing the public parking discussion, we could look at it as a future project. The attorney can correct me, but under AB 2097, there's actually no requirement for parking.
Not for this project, but if we are vacating public right-of-way, which is currently used for parking, so we need sufficient justification that we are not going to need that for the city use. We cannot, for example, the mayor suggests maybe we should do less festivals, reduce the size of festivals because of lack of parking. That would be a very undesirable consequence of the vacation of this land, right?
We could also consider signage around that area to encourage people to park elsewhere. So we can look at other solutions if that's of interest.
But that does not show us sufficient reason to vacate the public land because I don't see a strong proof.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Vice Mayor. You've moved on from
Yeah.
clarifying questions. Are there any further clarifying questions from the other members of the council? Seeing none, we are closing the public hearing, and would any council member like to entertain a motion, perhaps to move the recommended action with some modifications? Councilmember Mohan?
Yes, Mayor. I move that we approve the recommended actions as displayed by this new memo that city attorney has given us, and it updates the recommended actions based on some of the things that had to be corrected, and based on some of the discussions we've had today.
Coun-
So if it's okay with you, I'll read out all the recommended actions.
May I ask, I'm sorry, Councilmember Mohan, I have been informed that the revised recommended action needs further revisions. I apologize for that. Can I just describe them to you?
Sure.
Number one is the draft DDA. That needs, the resolution on that item only needs to be updated to indicate, help me out, Michelle.
It needs to be updated to indicate that the term has been moved from 55 years to 99 years, which was something that was agreed upon very recently.
Okay, so that was that one. So instead of the update to 19 units, the mistake in that resolution was that it needs to be updated to 99 years. And then number 3,
Pardon, City
Yes.
Attorney, doesn't item 5
Yeah.
take care of that?
Correct. It does.
Okay.
So item 1 indicates that the resolution for the DDA needs to be revised with respect to the number of units. That comment should move down to number 3. It's the resolution approving the ASA that refers to 18 units, and it should instead say 19.
Okay,
Mayor, could we ask this to be projected for the public? This sheet we have.
Are you able to share screen, and then you can make the edits real time? For the motion.
The difficulty is our computers were down.
Oh, are we not? Okay. They're still not up? Okay.
Can you
Okay.
Okay.
With this,
Michelle, do you want to write the changes? And I do have a question for you. On the actual resolution approving the DDA, we know the DDA needs to be updated to 99 years. On the actual resolution, do we also need to update the resolution itself to 90? Yes. Correct. Okay.
Not yet.
Very good. Thank you.
okay, so have the edits been completed then? Okay. Councilmember Mohan? Could we have
has
the
been.
projection turned back on? Okay, so Councilmember Mohan, you'll be reading this into the record for the motion?
Okay. So the recommended actions are as follows. 1, we find the project exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA. 2, adopt resolution number 26-016, approving architectural and site approval permit, ASA 2025-006, attachment A. And this includes an update to reflect 19 units as opposed to 18 for the IDD population. Item number 3, postpone adoption of resolution number 26-017, declaring the property exempt surplus land pursuant to the Surplus Land Act, which is in attachment B. And number 4, adopt resolution number 26-018, approving the disposition and development agreement, DDA, which is attachment C, subject to 1, increasing the term of affordability restrictions from 55 years to 99 years, and 2, revising the date upon which the city may exercise its right to reacquire the property from 55 years from the date the DDA closes to 99 years, and direct staff to revise the DDA and all ancillary documents to reflect these changes and circulate for execution.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. So we have a second from Councilmember Fruin. Do we have comments from the members of the City Council? And please keep them brief. We are a bit over time already. Okay. Councilmember Wong?
Yeah, I'll be as brief as I can. Look, we're working against our residents and doing it with $9 million of taxpayer dollars. We need to remember we represent our taxpayers, the people who live here today. Once we give away the land, it's gone for a long time. It's 99 years. In good consciousness, we need to do more due diligence. This is a rush job. We're cutting corners. We're making exceptions that we wouldn't make for any other group so that this group can prepare for tax credits. It's cart before the horse. We have a large perception by the public that we're not following the appropriate processes, completing the appropriate studies. We have not done the right studies, especially when we're trying to account for Westport numbers, a new park, lack of reliability on De Anza. This is 99 years from now. Our job is to make sure we're stewards for 99 years. And can you really turn a right-of-way into a parcel? I'm not sure about that. We were not following the Surplus Land Act procedures. We may be violating those processes in so many ways, and we continue to rush this project and change things on the fly. This is not how it's supposed to work. We're doing it because they have a deadline. But we also should remember we have residents to represent. We have taxpayers that are involved in this. And this is really sad. We don't have a tight DDA for foreclosure, bankruptcy, and credit for the investment dollars and inflation. So looking on this list, I want to see at least a tight DDA that actually accounts for those things in a friendly amendment. And the other piece I really want to see is the fact that we should do the appropriate studies and follow the right process. We may be in violation of the Surplus Land Act. And I know all the lawyers here are saying no, but I'm hearing from other lawyers that this is the case, that we have not followed the right process. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Now, Vice Mayor Chow.
Yeah, there's no doubt IDD housing is critically needed in our area, especially when they have to compete for funding with the growing homeless population, a higher percentage of which get housing because they are addicted to drugs. And IDD is a population that must be prioritized in all BMR housing queues and all BMR housing funding. This is a population that has no other option but rely on public assistance. We must support them, and especially CUSD is known for their autism program and special need program. Many parents, families move to the area for the a very nice program, and then we do want to keep their kids in the area. And I visited the Bay Area Housing Corporation's senior IDD housing that they operate back in 2019. For example, there are 4 duplexes right in Cupertino on Foothill. The address is 10506. 10506 because someone asked me and didn't believe me. So that houses 12 developmentally disabled individuals with 4 caretaker families. And that's a nice operation. I visited their single family homes. They are not located in Cupertino. I've dreamed to have that kind of housing in Cupertino where a single family home is turned into independent living for IDD. So I have dreamed of having this project realized since 2019 because I've seen how great independent living would be, or even mildly assisted independent living would be great for the population. No doubt. It's needed. However, as city council member, I also have an obligation to ensure we follow the law and we address all the concerns of our residents. And today, even from our city attorney has admitted the current version of the public land exempt that resolution is insufficient, and they have to come back with another version. And as we have pointed out, we don't have sufficient reason to claim today the land that we are vacating or exempting today is not going to be needed for the city for public use. When we did that, created the parcel in 2019, the situation was different because we had expected 2 levels of public parking, underground parking in Westport. It's when the state did not force the city to accept no parking on projects. And now the situation is different. So I really, really want this project to come true, but I think we need to hold the city not only to the higher standard, we need to hold the city to a minimum standard. And I don't think we are in a position today to approve the DDA because we did not have the competency check from the Planning Commission for vacation and for exemption. So I'm proposing a substitute motion to postpone this so that we have a clean process, that we approve the DDA when we have a clean resolution for vacation and for exempt public land. Thank you. So the motion is to postpone this until the Planning Commission has done what they need to do, and then we have a clean reason that's legally supported by for our reasons for vacation and exemption.
So I do want to provide some corrections to some impressions individuals might have of the funding for this particular project. The $3 million in BMR funds, those are developer impact fees. The developers paid those to the city. The CDBG grant funding, that's federal funds. If staff needs to correct me on any of these items, please do. And the PLHA loan is from the county. So none of these funds are coming out of our general fund. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a substitute motion.
Second.
And seconded by Councilmember Wong. Do we have any discussion from the rest of the council members? Otherwise, we'll, Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the vote?
So just to be clear, Mohan moved and Fruin seconded, and then we're going to substitute motion with Councilmember Wong seconded, but Vice Mayor motioned.
Correct, it was a motion to postpone.
Okay, please start voting.
Could you read my motion that you have jotted down?
I have that you move to postpone consideration of this matter until the Planning Commission has completed its review and taken all required actions so that the record reflects a clear, legally supported basis for any decision regarding vacation and exemption of public land.
Yeah, thank you.
Does that summarize it?
Yeah.
The motion fails with Councilmember Wong and Vice Mayor voting yes.
Okay, then I move that, so we're going to vote on the main motion now. Okay,
I would like to say something since we haven't had the opportunity to
Please do.
speak. Give me a moment here.
While you're getting ready for that,
Thank you.
there was a mention about heat map and collisions. Cupertino has a collision dashboard, and I've looked at each one of the collisions there. Looks like some people are hitting parked cars, and the accidents were vehicular. So that. I appreciate staff has all this information available, and it's important to look into the details when this has happened before, when people have presented arguments and pulled the map. You have to actually go and dig in to see what those collisions, what those accidents actually were, and it's very helpful.
Thank you for that, Madam Mayor. You actually took one of the comments I was going to make. So I will go back to something that's actually bothering me a great deal about part of this discourse. Over several months, there have been a number of people who've come and made comments about this project, the process that's been used, what presumed impacts there might be. And in many of those comments, I've heard some things that deeply disturb me about the nature of who will be living there, whether people are worthy to live in Cupertino. Everybody's worthy to live in Cupertino. I grew up in this city, in this community, went to these schools. This story is basically not possible any longer because we've made it incredibly difficult to buy or rent in this town. And I think everyone needs to contemplate that for a moment. We are here having to approve affordable housing of this type because we didn't for many, many, many years, as an entire valley, as the Bay Area as a whole. We simply didn't plan for the future. Part of what we are supposed to do as a council is to plan for the future, to help make sure that Cupertino remains a place where everyone can have a future, that we don't just become a retirement community where all of our stores close and all of our schools have to shut down. So projects like this are really important. And so I was at least heartened to hear a lot of the advocacy today shift from the sort of commentary about who gets to live here to legal issues. But I want to address a little bit of that as well, because I got to read through the advocacy letter that was sent by Mr. Safran yesterday, and I was extremely surprised to see a number of legal assertions sitting inside it. And I'll just take you through one that in particular causes me to question the entirety of what was in that letter. It reads, toward the end of the letter, the density bonus law requires specific findings demonstrating that each waiver or concession is necessary to make the subject project economically feasible and that it does not result in a specific adverse impact upon public health or safety. The city has not made those findings in any meaningful way. That is not the law. Per Bankers Hill, 150 v. City of San Diego, 74 Calap 5th at 75, and Schreiber versus the City of Los Angeles, 69 Calap 5th, starting at 549, the city is not required to make such findings. Schreiber is explicit at page 560. The city, quote, was not required to make an affirmative finding that the incentives would result in cost reductions or to cite evidence to establish a fact presumed to be true, end quote. What happens instead under the DBL is that the burden of evidence shifts. It is the city, if it wants to deny a waiver or a concession, that must make findings based on the required quantum of evidence in the record. That is not what is happening here. And when I see obvious, readily verifiable legal errors like this, it makes me question the validity of the whole entire advocacy letter. Every analysis point and contention that's made inside of it. And frankly, when attorneys bring pleadings in court, you have a duty to the court of candor. You are not allowed to simply misstate the law like this. So I really have to question the ethics underpinning this sort of advocacy. And it's one thing to zealously advocate for a client, and it is quite another to wholesale ignore controlling contrary authority. So I really have no reason to believe any of the assertions that were made in this letter or any of the legal claims that have come before us. So I appreciate that, Madam City Attorney, you've been under a lot of strain today with a whole lot of questions and all of the diligence that your firm has put into trying to ensure that we're doing the right thing and that we're doing it the right way. With that, this really honestly ought to be a simple project to approve. It's modest. It's replacing parking, housing for cars, unsheltered housing for cars, for sheltered housing for people. And so I would simply ask for the folks who have opposed this project so far, once it's there, once it's built, it will be populated with people who will be part of this community. Go and meet them. You might be finding that you've made your new best friend. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Fruin. This project, will be really brief here. I do have a question for our city attorney about the 10:30 time. So I probably will be asking to suspend the rules because I do want to get to the next item. And I think that this has gone on very, very long, a lot longer than we expected.
We should do that now, and we should vote on that.
Okay, so I move that we
Extend the time to hear the next item.
extend the time to hear the next item, which is item 9, and I believe we'll need to suspend the rules since it will begin after 10:30.
Correct. And if you want to hear anything else on the agenda, you should say that now. But if that's the last item, yes.
That's the last item, so I would like a second, and then we will take a vote right before 10:30.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Fruin. Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the vote?
Mayor, can I make a comment? Because I'm going to abstain, I would like to state the reason.
You're going to abstain from this vote to hear item 9?
No. Oh, not this one.
This is the vote
Okay,
to
sorry.
extend.
Okay.
Okay, please vote. Motion carries with Councilmember Wong voting no.
Okay. So we'll continue with our comments on this item, and then we'll hopefully they'll be very brief, and then we'll go to a vote. No further comments?
So first, can I propose a friendly amendment that we, in addition to this, that we bring back to try to revise our BMR manual so that we prioritize long-time Cupertino residents over short-term residents. Would the mover?
Pardon, through the city attorney, that seems like a separate work program item. That's not really associated with this.
Could I include that as in the motion?
That does seem to be a separate work program item, the BMR manual.
Okay, that's fine.
But doesn't it tie back to the DDA and the restrictions we want in the
Pardon,
DDA?
through the chair. So the BMR manual is cited in the Cupertino Municipal Code, and it's then adopted by resolution. I think we're getting far afield of this particular item when you're trying to dig in and change the BMR manual. I do think there are, because of the 99 years in the housing element, I think it does need to be looked at. That's a separate item. That's a future agenda item. I don't believe it fits with this one.
Can I just state my reason to abstain?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I really, really want to vote yes on the project because I've been expecting this since 2019, and I really think this is critically needed. But as the attorney has even pointed out, we don't have the sufficient legal reasons today to exempt this land to claim this as surplus public land. And we have future uses. I do I have not seen any adjustment to help us provide more parking ever since the start of the year. And other developers have done that. So I do at least want to be sure we are following all the clean rules. So I am abstaining because I want to vote yes. I don't want to vote no, but I don't think I can vote yes on the condition that we have today.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor. I do see a final hand raised, Councilmember Wong, and then
I'll keep it short.
vote.
I'll keep it
Thank you.
short. So, Mayor, you believe in process. You believe in doing things the right way. You believe in planning. This is a 99-year project. So, if you feel that we have done the proper due diligence for a 99-year project to properly put a DDA, then I may vote with you. But at this moment, I don't see that in any instance here, which is why I'm going to vote no.
Thank you for that comment. And I did consult with our city attorney today, and we discussed this entire project. And so I am voting in support of it, and I trust our city attorney. Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the vote?
The motion carries with Councilmember Wong voting no and Vice Mayor abstaining.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. We are moving on to item 9, the transition of the business license administration to HDL companies and consideration of a business license amnesty program. We'll receive a staff report on the transition and then provide direction on whether to offer an amnesty program, and if so, which of the proposed options to use. Madam City Manager, do we have a staff report?
Thank you, Mayor. And as Jonathan is setting up, I'll just provide a short introduction. So this item is, it provides a report on the transition of the business license administration to HDL companies. We're also seeking council direction to adopt a business license amnesty program tonight. So the model that we're presenting today is an opportunity that we've identified to not only reduce the city's costs, but also to generate revenue, ongoing revenues. So an amnesty program can help bring unlicensed businesses into the system. And the programs aim to improve accuracy of our business database and improve communication with the business community. And I really appreciate the planning efforts around our first restaurant week that happened last year. Staff, including council members, helped with the outreach, and collectively we realized that some of our businesses weren't able to participate in those programs because they were not adequately or appropriately licensed. So this effort began right after that in earnest. And we want to provide the valuable visibility and resources to all our businesses. So with this program, we're reinforcing our commitment as a city to a business-friendly environment. Like I said, it's going to generate ongoing revenues for the city, which is important. And with that, I will now turn it over to Jonathan Orozco, our Acting Admin Services Director. Our Economic Development Manager and consultant from HDL are also available for any questions after the presentation. Jonathan.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Moore and City Council members. Tonight, staff is presenting an update to the city's transition to HDL, to Business License Administration, and seeking council's direction on whether to implement a business license amnesty program as part of its new compliance framework. This transition has made possible by staffing vacancies and has already resulted in improved operational efficiencies, enhanced customer service, and access to more robust compliance tools. HDL estimates that there are approximately 800 business licenses that are out of compliance in Cupertino, which, if brought into compliance, would generate an estimated $580,000 in annual revenue. To support this transition and encourage a voluntary participation, staff recommends a phased 60-day amnesty program. This program offers a 100% penalty and interest forgiveness in the first 30 days followed by 50% in the second 30 days. And then resume into full enforcement of compliance and discovery. 2 alternate models were also included in the packet for consideration. Under the current municipal code, penalties are assessed at 20% of business license per month, up to 100% of that tax, plus a 1% monthly interest on the principal of that tax. All 3 proposed amnesty models will limit tax recovery to the prior 3 years and waive penalties and interest during the amnesty period. The amnesty would apply to all existing businesses that are out of compliance, whether they never applied or are currently out of compliance and fail to renew. In addition, while not explicitly included in the report, staff requests council to consider granting temporary authority for the city manager to waive penalties and interest on a case-by-case basis. This will add flexibility while we support, excuse me. This added flexibility will support a smoother rollout of the program while staff works on a formal municipal code update later this year. Following council's direction, staff will expand outreach efforts, update FAQs, and provide clear communication to help businesses understand their obligations and take advantage of the amnesty opportunity. Staff, along with Ian Davis from HDL, are available to answer any questions you may have and welcome your input whether to proceed with one of the proposed amnesty models.
All right. Thank you, Acting Administrative Services Director Orozco. Are there any clarifying questions from the City Council at this time? Okay, everybody. So, Councilmember Wong.
I think the only question is why can't we do this ourselves, and why do we have to contract it out to HDL?
Previously, the city administered business license in-house. The cost was approximately close to $300,000. The program that HDL is offering would be much less. So with that, they bring economies of scale to the city that would grant the efficiencies the city just does not have the ability to perform. In addition to that, the city doesn't have the resources for the compliance and discovery aspect. And this is actually one of the main reasons we pursued HDL, because the city was somewhere between 60 to 70% compliant, which would be common for other cities that don't have that compliance and discovery division within its business license. So with HDL, we received those economies as well as the increase in revenue from their discovery and compliance division.
Thank you.
I do want to add that we will have over 4,000 businesses once we decide on how to handle this. Councilmember Fruin.
So the way that the recommendation is worded, it makes them appear as though each of these options is mutually exclusive one with the other, but it looks like 2, read the way that it is, could probably be incorporated at least into the third one. Is that true?
I'm sorry, can you restate?
So the second one would be to provide ongoing amnesty upon discovery for newly identified unlicensed businesses. And that feels like it would work fine with the option in 3 or the option in 1.
The city has the option to essentially marry both of them. So currently we can have the amnesty program run for 30 or the 60 days as proposed on options 1 and 2, and then thereafter provide that amnesty window once HDL identifies any non-compliant business.
Okay, so it's really options 1 and 3 that are mutually exclusive.
Correct.
Okay, all right. And then in addition to that, there was some request for additional authority to the city manager to be able to make certain penalty determinations on a case-by-case basis, but I don't see that captured in the recommended action. So what would you need from us? Do we have to make a motion that specifically includes that?
That is correct.
Okay.
Councilmember Mohan?
I have worked in other organizations where HDL has administered the business license program, and they are the experts. I was just surprised that we hadn't done this earlier. But it's not just a matter of capturing the businesses and the amount of fee and so on. There's a enforcement aspect to it, which I don't know how you've been able to do it all these years. So I am completely in approval of going with HDL to have this program outsourced. But you said something, Jonathan, that you would also, as staff, you'd be doing some outreach among businesses. And so I just want to make sure that the responsibilities are clear and sort of separate. If you're going to be doing it, then is HDL going to be doing it? Or do you have staff working now on business licenses? Or will you eliminate that function as part of city operations?
A couple questions. So the first is the heavy lifting will be performed by the city's economic development and communications divisions, who will be reaching out to the business community through various channels. And then in terms of staffing, due to the vacancies that we in finance had a little over a year ago, what we did was repurpose one of the vacancies to assist with CIP related functions. And so we did not lose a position, we essentially repurposed it. And so we're now working closely with CIP to kind of help with the reporting requirements.
And if I may add to that, through the mayor, so we're hoping the outreach is more coordinated with HDL support. We're talking with CDD staff, so when someone's, a business is getting their permits, that it gets identified if they don't have a business license. And then with our economic development manager, I think it's going to be more robust and coordinated with the support of HDL. It results in cost savings for the city, as we mentioned, and hopefully we can bring in more revenue that way.
Is he the only person working on this? Or do you have other staff members besides Daniel?
Yes, we have other members of the city manager's team that help with outreach, but primarily is the economic development. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
So I believe we need to thank Councilmember Wang for finding out this issue, because I remember I first received a list of businesses registered from him, and then he pointed out some of them are not registered in Cupertino. So then we started to try to clean up. So thank you for that. And I have a question about, between 2 and 3, in terms of business discovery. So 2 proposes reoccurring discovery, and what is the other thing? If we don't do reoccurring, what does that mean?
So what the option 2 would...
So if we just go strictly with option 3 without reoccurring discovery, what does that mean?
So
How
that
would we find?
Sorry. So that would mean after the amnesty period ends, which is this total of 60 days, HDL's discovery efforts will continue after that. So let's say we discover another 100 businesses, making up numbers here. Those businesses, whether they've heard from the city or knew about the requirement that they need to get a business license, would not have that flexibility of coming into compliance without any forgiveness of penalties.
HDL will do the discovering periodically.
Correct.
And option 3 is the new ones. Maybe they just registered yesterday, and then HDL discovered today, and then they won't have 30 days, and they will just get a notice from the city. Hey, you didn't register. You are fined. something like that.
Yeah, so if option 2 is not incorporated in the final recommendation or final direction that council provides, then in the future, after any amnesty program is over, those businesses will have to just come into compliance and will not have that courtesy window.
But how would they be notified they need to register? Would they get no notification? They are supposed to just know?
No, they're not. Well, they're supposed to not just automatically know. So we're looking into ways through the outreach, through improving our websites, through working with CDD staff. So there's a lot of different, there's a kind of a multi-pronged approach we're taking. So we'll make sure businesses are aware.
But most people are not. Any outreach by the city, we will miss people. So those people are not going to know that they need to register. And HDO, once they discover, they will not get 30 days. I mean, they won't even get a notice from the city except a late notice.
Yes, that's
Doesn't seem
the
to be
question
fair.
is
Yeah.
if they're getting a late notice at that point, are we giving them that courtesy
30-day
window to come into
Okay.
compliance?
Yeah, thank you.
If
I
may.
do think that 30-day window makes sense. Yeah.
So the option 2 is more geared towards licenses that have never, or applicants, or sort of businesses that have never submitted an application. So as HDL is cross-referencing their data, our existing database to other databases and identifying those licenses.
Yeah, I
those
understand
businesses.
that.
So they would grant those licenses a brief window, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, whatever council chooses to adopt. The HDL would work with them and give them that official notice. You have 30 days to come into compliance, otherwise
Yeah.
you're going to be assessed
Yeah, I
not just the
understand that.
previous taxes, but also penalties.
That's okay. So what would be the notification method? Through email or through letter?
They have options, so one through email or through an actual letter. So similar to the renewal process, they'll reach out via email multiple times if they have one on file, and then lastly a letter before their license expires. So they'll use.
So
the
lastly, through letter, because we have heard from businesses is a lot of this email get ignored, and they don't know if they are really from the city, and so they trust a letter, especially on text things. So it seems if we are sending a formal notice that you have 30 days to comply, it should start with a written notice that's an official letter, and the email is kind of a courtesy reminder, unless they specifically opted out of letters.
So currently, as far as the renewal
But
process,
they have no way to opt out because they haven't registered.
maybe I can look to Ian if you're available to see what the discovery and compliance looks like after an amnesty program, as far as communicating with those newly discovered businesses.
Of course, yeah. And can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I just wanted to just quickly jump in and answer that question. So normally the way our discovery process works from a just communications perspective is that we're actually trying multiple different mediums in order to contact the taxpayers. So it's never just like a one-stop kind of process. We send out a notification via postmail, we follow up via email, and then we even place phone calls to those businesses once they don't respond. That all happens like in tandem. So in this like 30-day period, a business would receive a letter and then an email and then a phone call. Obviously, this is bearing the fact that we have that data. Sometimes, depending on the business, that data is not readily available. So not every business may get that exact experience, but at the bare minimum, they'll receive a letter via postmail, and then at the maximum, they'll receive all three of those different types of communications. Because our main goal is just to make sure, by the nature of HDL being located not in Cupertino and being located in Fresno as an example, there is a natural instinct to not trust some of the communications. So we try to basically make it as just plain and simple as possible that HDL is there, we're to be trusted, we're linked to the city's website directly, that basically there's just more transparency, and that the notices are very transparent about what we are, who we are, and how we can communicate with the taxpayers.
Okay, great. Thank you. So how much is the current contract with the HDL to implement the existing program with just a portal for registration? And how much will be the additional cost if we include the discovery and follow-up to implement the program?
So currently, if I remember correctly, it's $16 per license in those outreach efforts. Should, in the part of discovery and compliance aspect, if they do identify a business that's out of compliance and are able to recover the cost for those license or for past taxes and penalties, they would receive 40% of that initial collections. Ongoing revenue for that business is 100% to the city.
Wait, $16 is for anyone who register, or $16 is only for the new ones they have discovered?
That's for all compliance or all renewals.
Or renewal. So if a new business that's just registering today, for example, get online, HDO gets $16 for
The
that
administration.
registration. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wong?
Yeah, I have a quick question. So on the ones that are for our for option number 2, right? Does that also include businesses that just discovered that they needed to do that? Like if someone voluntarily complies and just says, "Oh wait, I saw a sign that says, hey, I need to go do that." Because if we do the outreach right, does HDL get the money for doing that compliance, or do we get it for our outreach? Like who gets attribution?
So the initial outreach would be, because the city's initiating that outreach, that would be 100% to the city, and the Cupertino would receive both the current license back tax as well as any back taxes.
Okay. And so the ongoing amnesty for discovered businesses, there's the HDL component and there's our own component for our own outreach, right? We do separate that.
So for the second option, that would be their efforts for reaching out to the out of compliant businesses, and they would receive 40% of that.
So on a 2x2 grid, HDL discovered, city initiated, right, on one side, versus businesses in compliance versus newly discovered businesses. How does that look?
So if we're
sorry about
I'm
the
a
2x2
visual person, yeah.
Sorry about the 2x2. Do the visual. Do the box.
Yeah.
So the use case I'm looking at is really city initiated, right, and new business. How does that? Do we have different options for all these?
I think
So
if I may, I think it would be up to councils to provide that direction. If you want to have this blanket ongoing amnesty upon discovery, whether it's through city outreach or HDL, I think that can be part of that recommendation.
No, I just want to make sure that if we discover it, we don't have to pay the administration fee on the first stop. That's all. That's what I really wanted to make sure. And the second thing, given that I would guess that we have a very entrepreneurial audience in our neighborhoods. We have people that are doing consulting. We have people that are painting. We have people who are doing Etsy. We have all these things that are happening in the neighborhood. People have their own daycare, tutoring. Like, there's a lot of businesses being run out of the city. I would bet you 99% of these people didn't even know that they need a business license, right? And that's why I'm not even sure a 90-day period is enough, or how we actually do the outreach. But I mean, anyone figuring out suddenly they might owe, I don't know, $1,000, $500, whatever the $181 fee is, right? They're going to be in shock. And so I think that's really the main thing. We do need to collect revenue. I'm not against that. I just think that 99% of the people that have these businesses, like even kids that have startups that are generating ticket swaps and arbitrage on sneakers, like they don't even know they got to pay this tax. So whatever we do, I want to make sure we're gentle with it, but also in a way that is conducive, because they know what the business fee is getting us, which are some of the programs that Daniel's working on. That's all.
Madam City Attorney, it looks like we're going to go past 11. So do we need to have a motion to extend past 11 in order to complete this item?
We do, yes.
Okay, I'm making that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the vote?
Motion carries with Councilmember Wong voting no.
Thank you, Councilmember Wong. Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions, clarifying questions from the City Council. We're going to go to members of the... Oh, you have another question?
Oh, yeah, I have more question. So it's unclear, the staff report didn't say what exactly a business needs to pay annually. I think it's $75, but there is something about square footage in the municipal code, and there's something about micro business making under 1,000 or under 5,000. Could you clarify? And then if we are going back only 3 years, which is good, but then we are also charging interest and some penalty. I would like to know dollar amount. What's the max a business would be expected to pay 3 years plus penalty? What that look like? So I have some idea. It doesn't have to be exactly accurate, just ballpark.
Okay, let me start off with, as far as that 1,000 or small business, if a business generates less than $1,000 in gross receipts, they are exempt from having to apply and receive a business license. If they generate between 1,000 to 5,000, they qualify for a small business license, which I believe right now it's right around $94. Anything after that, it would be the full rate. The general
What's
business...
the full rate?
In the general business cost is $185. And so of which $4 relates to SB 1186, which is a state cost. And so that goes directly to the state.
Okay, any further questions?
No, 3-year estimate with penalty.
Let's assume there's a $1,000 license because of the square footage and whatnot. If it's 1 year, that license, and this is assuming penalties and interest, so the penalties will be up to 100%, so it would be an additional $1,000, and interest on that $1,000 would be $120, 1% per month for each month. Now, if it's a 2-year delinquent on that same $1,000, so you have 2 years of taxes, each at $1,000, you would see $2,000 in principal, $2,000 penalties, and $360 in interest. Now, you got to consider that the first year in interest will continue from year 1 to year 2, so you see a third $120. And let's take it a third year, you see principal at $3,000, penalties at $3,000, and interest at $720. But this is all hypothetical, right?
So, yeah, hypothetically, if a business is supposed to pay $1,000 a year, the 3-year penalty would be how much?
$3,000, because the penalty is up to 100%.
So $3,000 would be in $3,000 plus $3,000 penalty.
The only bit that would be forgiven is the penalty of the $3,000. The city would still pursue to collect the $3,000 of taxes.
But if they are not, they didn't get the amnesty, so they would pay $3,000 for the business license plus $3,000 penalty.
Correct.
If they are 3 years at the max, yes. Okay, and then if it's 2 years, what would be the total?
Principal would be $2,000, penalty would be $2,000, interest would be $360.
So the penalty plus interest is how much?
$2,360.
2,000.
And if I may, it's been the city's practice. Interest has been a touchy subject, but once we approve an amnesty program, should the council move this direction, or once we go into a full discovery process, interest will be included as part of the penalties and interest calculation that HDL will be collecting on behalf of the city.
So for the businesses that's making under 1,000, they are exempt. But if we send any notice, turns out they are exempt, we still wait. If they register, the city has to pay $16 for someone who doesn't pay anything. So we would be negative $16 for a micro business that make under 1,000. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you rephrase that?
And I think you mentioned for businesses with less than 1,000 gross receipt,
Correct.
they are exempt. So they don't pay, they pay $0.
So they shouldn't even register to begin with, right?
So if they register, the city will pay $16 for their registration when they pay $0.
In that hypothetical, yes.
Which I think my son just did. Okay. And but then when HDL make this discovery, they don't know how much those people make. So if HDL discover 100 business that's actually micro, they will send on this notification to them, and then they will try and register, and then we will pay $16 for them and find out, they don't need to register.
Ian, what is the likelihood that we would actually send a notice to a small business that makes less than $1,000?
So do we know that? Can we? Oh, okay, Ian.
Yeah, quickly I can just kind of answer both from a likelihood perspective, which is it's pretty low. I mean, our main focus is going to be businesses who are more public. So as an example, businesses who obviously have more of a, like, let's say, online presence or a more dominated, outwardly, like, customer-seeking presence, as an example, are the things that are easier to find. And then obviously via the way that our contract is set up, where we have the desire to have contingency fees, and we're there to try to find as much revenue for the city, to try to basically find the biggest accounts, right? That we're trying to fill the biggest gap for your revenue, the goals in your revenue.
Do you have data on the gross receipts of those businesses?
Tax records.
So in some cases we do. So for an example, we have sales tax records, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be an example where we would have a portion of someone's gross receipts.
So you can screen out those micro, small garage startups.
Correct. Okay. If I mean, that's not the only type of business that would fall into the micro business category, but yeah, we would be able to screen a large portion of them that are doing these, like,
okay.
I think Etsy was brought up earlier.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Through the mayor, may I propose something to be put on the screen, Lauren, just to simplify the discussion and move it along?
Well, we were doing the clarifying questions. Can we come back after we've gotten comments from the public? Okay, thank you. Madam City Clerk, do we have any members of the public who would like to speak?
We have one request to speak in person, and at this time I am seeing 2 hands raised virtually.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just a reminder to the members of the public wishing to speak regarding an item shall submit a request to speak or raise their hand virtually within 9 minutes of the start of public comment or before public comment period is closed, whichever comes first. At this time, we will welcome Rhoda to the podium.
I would have loved to see, you hear me? You all hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
But anyway, I would have loved to see Councilmember Wong's clarification. I do have a slide up here that I'd like to show you. And so it was kind of like, hey guys, what's a business? So anyway, a little bit tongue-in-cheek late at night, but luckily I was able to have a discussion with Mr. Orozco outside, very helpful. I would have liked to see this agenda item a little better fleshed out. And I appreciate the fact that there's been some more information put on the website about what is a business, what's owed. I think it could be a little bit more in your face. But what we want to do is let's be clear, this is a tax. This is not a license, it's a tax, okay? And so we really want to encourage businesses, and I would like to prefer to see that even after discovery that we'd be light on the penalties. We want to bring people into compliance. We don't want to penalize people for being in business or not understanding the rules. And I don't want to be too punitive. I didn't have time to go through and look at a whole bunch of cities and see what they do. I think that would be helpful in really understanding the landscape in Santa Clara Valley for understanding how they do penalties. I'm involved with a small business that has business licenses in multiple cities. It's a real pain to manage, and then to get fined just for trying to do your job is a pain. And you know, for instance, I know, like Mr. Fruin, you've done stuff with trademark stuff. So you did a trademark stuff for the YIMBY organization. So, but that YIMBY is probably outside of Cupertino, but you were doing it from your office, in your home office maybe. Did you need a license, or did you need a license when you did the trademark for the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce? Because that was for something that happened in Cupertino. So, you know, there's a lot of gray areas, or maybe you did it for free. So maybe you didn't, you know, you didn't collect that much money. I don't know. But anyway, I think this could be a little bit sussed out a little more. And I'm sure that Mr. Wong really would have been able to crystallize the issues here, because he's really good at getting to the heart of the matter. So let's encourage businesses and not punish them. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhoda. Next, we'll move to the virtual request to speak. We have San Rao, followed by Peggy Griffin. Welcome, San.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council members. I'm speaking on behalf of myself only as a resident. I am strongly opposed to this change that you're proposing, and I ask that you reject this at 11 p.m. tonight. This really should be called a tax increase at 11 p.m. and nobody was paying attention, written up as a vendor approval, when it is really a tax increase under the covers. You have no code enforcement today that is proactive. It is complaint-based. Repeatedly, I have heard from the Vice Mayor that code enforcement is complaint-based. We spent 6 months on an RB ordinance, and code enforcement does not go out and enforce that. When you have homeless, there's no enforcement. However, when there's street sweeping and you're 5 seconds late, people get tickets. So there's a sustained pattern here where residents, law-abiding, tax-paying residents that are simply living their lives, get harassed so that you can extract more money from them. And this one extends the practice. At 11 p.m. tonight, when no one's paying attention, having gone home after just being stupefied over the prior decisions that you guys voted on, we're now seeing this proposal that is really a way to extract revenue from people just trying to afford to live here. And what this is basically outsourcing to a vendor whose address is in Fresno, and who, by the way, is already operational. If you go to the city's website, it says we have already outsourced it. So the first question you should be asking is, why is this now in front of council if it is already approved and operationalized as the city's website says? The second question is, why is this vendor in Fresno? Are we putting the hands of our residents in somebody sitting in Fresno who's going to use this to boost their revenues and harass residents? The third thing you need to really look into is, what is the definition of a business? Is a school PTA, we are full of schools in Cupertino, is a school PTA a business? Is a volunteer org a business? Is a cultural community a business? Is a church a business? Could a remote worker be a business? And the staff report says they could. But they say it's impractical. Who is to say it's impractical? Tomorrow you could have a council who decides to harass their political opponents by having this vendor go after them. How would you trace it? There's no way to trace it. We have an overly broad code that allows for the vendor to do as they please. And this is allowing them a free rein to boost their revenues and give the city a back channel tax increase when you know fully well that you are not going to have the support from residents. And instead of calling it a tax increase on the agenda transparently and doing it as the first item when everybody's paying attention, here you are at 11 p.m. really pushing a tax hike.
Thank you, San. Next, we have Peggy. Well, welcome, Peggy. And I'm going to pull up your slides that you sent me.
Thank you, Lauren. Good evening, council members and staff. I'm going to go quickly through these slides because I have more to say. One is I noticed from what Mr. Oroso said is apparently the business license fee is not $31.24. I looked at the fee schedule and apparently it changes. So nothing was said in the staff report about how much money we're talking about. Nothing was said about penalties and amounts. The definition of a business uses the word business to define it. So I think you really need to flesh out what a business is and who's involved. Next slide, please. Next page, please. Nonprofits. Please exempt the nonprofits, the churches, the school booster clubs, the AYSO, the sports clubs, the Cupertino Symphonic Band. All these groups have no clue that they're considered a business. And I think this is outside the scope of what you're looking at and shouldn't even deal with it. Next slide, please. A business license amnesty program. When I first read it, it reminded me of the weed abatement program and how people are notified and penalized without having an opportunity to clear themselves first. Option two, I think that people, if they're going to be identified as a business, that they should be discovered, they should be notified so they know, and then they should have time to apply. And I don't think you should have a penalty. You want it, like Rhoda said, you want businesses and you want to encourage businesses in Cupertino, not keep them from coming to Cupertino. And as San Rao said, this is late. The staff report, I would have liked to have seen a chart. I didn't realize that the penalties could be thousands of dollars. This is serious, and people need to know about it, and you need to have more outreach to get input from these people. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. Mayor, that concludes the request to speak on this item.
Okay, thank you. And I do hope that the members of the council and the public have read the municipal code regarding the business licenses. This is not a new tax. What it is an existing revenue generation with fees that act as a local tax to fund general city services and infrastructure, and the license help the city monitor businesses to ensure that they meet safety, zoning, and health regulations. I'm going to move the recommended action just to get this item to move along. The recommended action is to adopt a phased 60-day business license amnesty program. That's the staff recommendation, consisting of 100% penalty forgiveness during the first 30 days and 50% forgiveness during the subsequent 30 days, followed by full enforcement. And to clarify, this would comply with the state law and current city practice with recovery of penalties limited to the most recent 3 years. So if you were 10 years out of compliance, we're only going back 3 years. And this is probably the most forgiving out of the three options, in my opinion. And then also we would add that we authorize the city manager to review and determine forgiveness of the penalties and interests until the Cupertino Municipal Code is updated later this year, because what we are providing in this amnesty program is not what's written in the municipal code. So a strict adherence would require everybody to pay the penalties in all the back years. So that this is the least restrictive one, and I really appreciate the staff for your very thoughtful work on this matter, to help bring us into compliance. And I hope I have a second on the
second.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may just clarify, is council interested in adding the second recommended action as well into your final motion?
Could you read that out, please?
The second recommended action would provide ongoing amnesty upon discovery for newly identified unlicensed businesses even past this initial 60-day period. So this would give businesses ongoing courtesy notice.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And through the mayor, I put a chart together that actually fits that. So can we put that on the screen?
Pardon, does my seconder accept that?
Sorry, Council Mayor, I apologize. We lost volume. I just
Okay.
need a moment to connect with video. Please hold, sorry.
Okay.
So the current motion is the option 3, right?
3
And
and
then
2.
the friendly
3 plus 2.
amendment is that we are adding 2, right? Yeah,
Just
I
make a
agree.
clean motion.
3 and 2, plus the authorizing the city manager to review and determine forgiveness of the penalties and interest until the municipal code is updated later this year.
So that part I'm a little unsure because when Jonathan said that he says that we will authorize city manager to make individual changes. Some people might get waivers, some people don't. I'm not comfortable with that unless I know more what that means.
I believe what we're doing is authorizing the city manager to be able to do this because our municipal code does not allow her as the collector to
As the collector, not making these different
Until
decisions
HDL's
for
up.
different business.
Correct.
Okay.
And and if there's any outstanding appeals, then then council can give me the authority to move those as well as needed.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Wong, please share your information.
Yeah, can you put up the slide, Lauren, that's on this overhead, if that's possible? Or should I use the one out there? I can use the one out there, too.
This one.
Oh, just give it to her.
Or you just give it to you?
Just this?
Yeah, just that. That's it. Simple. Oh, I could have put up there. No, I just want to make sure we're clarified. There's 2x2 grid, which Jonathan already drew, but this is the same 2x2 grid. There's existing out of compliance and there's new, right? I just want to make sure that we're saying that, existing out of compliance is number 3, whether Cupertino initiated or HDL initiated, and new is amnesty for Cupertino initiated and also HDL. I just want to make sure that that's kind of what we're saying. So it's easier with a grid, that's all.
And that's number 2.
And that's number 2. Does that seem right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're all in agreement, and I think that's, the city manager is now authorized to go collect. I just want to make sure we're all clear. Okay, all right.
And we'll also be providing those FAQs, more of the FAQ information, and that will help so that we don't have children with lemonade stand thinking they need to file for a business license. Okay.
We have neighbors who are doing crypto mining operations, so I think the kids are a little bit more sophisticated than lemonade.
Yeah.
It's less than $1,000 there.
Mayor.
Less than 1,000 traceable in Bitcoin. but-
Okay. All right. Okay, it's getting late. Vice Mayor?
Okay, so regarding nonprofit, I think there was still confusion. The staff report does mention today's action does not apply to any nonprofit. And the Muni Code already exempt nonprofit from business tax. And but then we do want to explore in the future, there is a way for nonprofit to register so we know who they are, we can reach out to them when necessary. But with the $16 a license, I don't want them to go through the HDL portal. I wish there is a way that they can just file a Google form so we collect information. They can check the box to say self-determined that they exempt. So unless someone complain about a specific organization, maybe we just want that database. So I hope that's something we could explore in the future. Then the same for micro business. we don't want to text them, but I think it's good to have that information so we know they are doing that business. We can reach out to them with any city information. They can help connect with each other by registering, so that there will be a directory of all these awesome, amazing businesses that people create, even when they are just a new startup. And I think it's clear. I think another thing that wasn't really mentioned is we are not adding new taxes. However, with the existing tax, some businesses, even well-known businesses, do not register or have lapsed in their registration. But some people are following the rule of registering every year. It's not fair for the rule follower to keep playing every year, and then some of those either forgot or choose not to register every year. So this is a process to make sure everyone is treated fairly based on existing city code. So, yeah.
Through the mayor.
Last comments?
Yeah.
Councilmember Froon?
Just wanted to underscore for everyone that the thing that's in front of us today is the amnesty program and not the substance of the ordinance itself. But I think what you're hearing from a lot of people is maybe this is something we really need to spend some time with. So I'm grateful that staff are planning on bringing us something back. Just to reiterate it for the public, much of this ordinance dates to 1992, and I think that business realities are quite different right now. So it's important that we modernize it.
Thank you to all council members for your feedback, and to members of the public. We've heard some really good questions and feedback coming out of this discussion, and we will be taking those back and building our FAQs, and certainly as we clean up the Muni Code, we'll bring it back to council.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the vote?
I apologize. Do we have a second on the motion? Vice Mayor? Okay.
Sure, second.
I have Moore moved and Chow seconded.
Yes.
Okay, please vote. The motion carries unanimously.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you everyone for a very productive evening. Our next city council meeting, I will mention this again, it is on Thursday. That is Thursday, February 19th, 2026. The city facilities will be closed on Monday, February 16th, and Tuesday, February 17th, in observance of President's Day and Lunar New Year. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.